Hello world, Tara Seymour here for the 4th live today, and again, the first full day of Find It, Feel It, Free It. Find what freedom feels like to you. Doesn't mean you have to see it. Find what it feels like, feel it in your body, and free it to anyone else open to feeling it. Like I'm going to start every broadcast, we're going to start with 1 minute of coherent heart-brain entrainment breathing. So again, that is breathing in and then out a little more slowly and deeply than usual, seeing, sensing, feeling, and imagining that each breath flows in and out of your heart or chest space. I find it helps if I think about the pattern the breath will follow in my body. Again, just to change it today, now I'm going to actually figure eight it this way. So now it's kind of just running and I'm focusing all my energy in my heart area. In and out. And in. And in. And out. So again, I do coherence breathing on a very regular basis, almost constantly through my day. I play a lot with the pattern in which the breath moves through my body. And I've actually led 3 different breathwork patterns. Again, I encourage you to notice how it feels within your body, and over time, you'll start to discern differences, if you're not already. Just for anyone joining in, I am today in front of my sound fusion table where I work with the crystals, and I have been radiating right through today the sound of the deep Om and also the vibration of the sun, because that for me is one of my favorite combos that just helps stretch me, help me stay released in this area, which happens to be where I lock up. So I'm also going to next start with another Suze Casey style pat on the back, because it hasn't been perfect or easy, especially with juggling a store, but I've now managed to get here for my 4th broadcast today. And those of you who've known me, actually getting online is a challenge. So again, why am I doing this? Well, I am doing this because I believe through to my core in so many of the teachings that I've learned, and I believe through to my core that humanity has the potential still, even in the middle of COVID, or at the end of COVID, or at the beginning of COVID, wherever we are in it, that the humanity actually has the potential to come together, to actually create a coherent space in which we can co-create some sort of a way of being that really will allow every one of us to flourish. And I'm not just referring to those of us living in countries with as many resources as the one I happen to be blessed to live in, which is Canada. So close out, I'm going to talk just really briefly, or close out for today, about another body of work that I follow, David Hawkins' Maps of Consciousness. Again, you can go and look this up. He was doing a lot of this in the 80s. If you're at all serious about it, I'd encourage you to listen to his lectures. But you can certainly find a bit of it out there on the internet. Long and short is using muscle testing or kinesiology testing, so an intuitive somatic practice. He did some work to measure coherence overall around the world, and for the most part found out that most civilizations are living below what he would call neutral in the world of consciousness. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I suspect that you may be hearing a lot about ascension or raising in consciousness or that sort of thing. That might now be lost underneath a freedom convoy. But up until now, I'm going to suggest that a lot of you have heard a lot of new terms in the last couple of years that you maybe haven't heard that much before. Vibration, frequency, expansion, raising consciousness, New Age spiritual, I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, all that world, which I happen to actually be quite deeply connected to, although I tend to have a bit of belief that when people are using those words, I'm not sure they are always meaning the same thing, and I'm not sure they're always meaning the same thing as I am. But nevertheless, I'm a believer that whether or not you're spiritual or not, consciousness, rising or falling, when consciousness hits a certain level, and I'm going with David Hawkins' work, Power versus Force was the book he released in the 90s, so you can go and read that. He is suggesting that any society or individual that is essentially living at a lower level of consciousness than what he would call neutrality, which is where the default emotion would simply be trust, and we would naturally let go of things. Any society living below that is going to use force to make changes. And what's really interesting is at the top of his scale, before we hit neutrality, so before we start to move into what I would call ascending above average, the very top level below neutrality is courage. The one below that is pride. And then it goes down from there: anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and shame. So we're animals. And if we're not self-regulating our own emotions, we are going to regulate them based on essentially bodily functions. We are going to, without really realizing it, at an animalistic level, try to move up, or an instinctual level, a behavioral level. We're going to try and move ourselves up. And if we are below that line, we're going to try and move ourselves up by moving above other people. And if you think about what have been the values of many places in the world, including where I live, we're striving for feeling pride. We're striving for courage. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. That's still moving you up. I'm just saying that that is only the top of the forceful way of doing things. And you start to actually step into true power, and then it gets kind of logarithmic. And some of the rules we're used to come off as you start to expand into that true power level. So again, that was another big topic I just threw out there. If there's some readers on it, by all means, go read. But I guess what I'm suggesting is when I see people who call themselves spiritual, but they're rigid and they're judgmental, to be really upfront, I have had a number of newly woke people show up here and steal a huge amount of product because part of their newly woke religion involves the world providing, and that means they no longer have to pay for anything. That is not what ascension or spirituality or expanding consciousness means to me. So I could get into a battle with them or I cannot. I don't want to battle with that. But I do want to take part in creating what this world looks like, and I don't want it to come out of that. So again, I'm a believer that if we can energetically create a space of coherence, that the picture of what it looks like will have then been created and grown in this petri dish that we have all contributed to. And so that is the goal of this campaign. Find it, feel it, free it. Find how freedom feels for you. Find a feeling of freedom that creates coherence in your body, because I guarantee your body's smart. And if it doesn't figure out how to be coherent, then the feeling of freedom that you're feeling is a feeling of familiarity, but it's not a feeling of freedom. So let's do another little coherence meditation to close it out. I've thrown out a lot of topics today. I do invite comments back. I will work on refining this whole process as I go. It's all rather new for me. So what I'm actually going to use this time, and at least for a while here, we're going to base on the HeartMath breathing techniques. So I am going to see, sense, feel, or imagine. Another thing that makes me feel really, really free, I'm not scared of heights, and I actually like being up in the air and just feeling the breath when there's something big and empty in front of me. So I'm actually going to picture There's a specific place I'm sitting on. I'm not right on the edge. There's a little ledge. This isn't some, I'm not being super brave or anything like that. Frankly, I don't get a hit off that. But I'm just feeling, I am looking out at the grand expanse in front of me. If there's a song involved, it might be The Circle of Life in The Lion King. My visions often have a song. And that's what I'm going to sort of see, sense, feel, play, imagine in my body as I do the heart-focused breathing through my heart. Because that vision will naturally shift me into feeling free. I invite you to use my vision, and if you have another one popping up, please use your own. You will find what your bang for your buck coherence creators are, and they will not be identical to mine or anyone else's. We're similar and we're subtly different. So together, again, for me, I am actually high up, looking out at an abundant, rich forest. There's a slight bit of a breeze. The sun is shining on my face, and I feel free. And I'm going to start to breathe that feeling of freedom through my heart. Actually, now I want to breathe that feeling in and then expand it. I will start to feel a little bit of relaxation, and I start to feel now like there's more space in me. This is a good freedom for me. I can feel myself standing a little heavier on my feet. Feel my energy dropping a little down as I ground and come in. And now finally, I'm going to set that intention and radiate that expansive feeling of freedom, my feeling of freedom at this moment, out to the group with an invitation for anyone else whose body is receptive to receive it and integrate it into their world too. Find it, feel it, free it. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 after 11 Mountain Standard Time. I am Tara Sue Moore. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever time it is where you are.